Hi again. I wanted to share a story, my labor and delivery story, and preeclampsia. And if you don't know what that is, when you go to the doctor when you're pregnant, whenever you have a doctor appointment, they make you pee in a cup. And they're basically checking the proteins in your urine because that's one of the markers for preeclampsia, that and high blood pressure and a couple other things. And it can be very dangerous to you, your child, very risky. So that they're always testing about that. I had a perfect pregnancy. I never had morning sickness. I didn't even have cravings really. Just everything. Everybody was so jealous about my pregnancy. And when I was 35 weeks along, I went into a doctor appointment and they took my blood pressure, and like the last appointment or so was a little high, but it wasn't anything to be concerned about. I did have some swelling and stuff like that, but they took my blood pressure and she automatically went out of the room, got the nurse, got my midwife, and she came back in, took my blood pressure again. They didn't tell me what was going on, and she said, okay, well, I'm not going to be able to deliver your baby, and I apologize. And I'm like, what do you mean? She said, your blood pressure is really high and you need to get to the hospital right now. And she said everything really calm, but, still it's like alarming. And she said, you might have to stay there overnight, until you get released. And I'm like, I gotta work tomorrow. Like, what are you talking about? I didn't understand the importance of it, basically. So I went over to the hospital, which is right down the road. They put me in a bed, had me hooked up to a blood pressure cuff. I think it went off like every 15 minutes or something crazy. At that point, I don't think they gave me any medication yet. And anytime I went to the bathroom, they had to collect it and test it for the proteins in the urine. And none of that ever came up, but my blood pressure was extremely high. I still, to this day, do not even know what it was. It was so high, they didn't tell me. I was at risk for seizures, for losing my life and the baby's life. It's a very serious thing. So I had this doctor, never met her before, and she was pregnant herself, which you think she would have a little bit more compassion, but she didn't. She came in and she said, your blood pressure's not going down. We're going to have to induce you. Do you have any questions? That's literally all she said to me. And my eyes started watering. I started crying, and I'm like, I'm just really scared. I don't know what's going on. And she's like, you need to stop crying right now. You're going to make your blood pressure worse. So I'm like, dang, really? So from that moment on, everything just kind of like went away. It was really weird. Like you just never know how you're going to react until you go through something. And looking back on it, like right now I could cry because it was really scary. But at the time, I was just so calm. And side note, I was really close to my grandmother, and she passed away when I was in high school. And when I was in my delivery room, I looked over and there was a rocking chair. And it's not just like any rocking chair, it's a really old rocking chair, the exact same one we had in our house growing up that she used to rock me in. And to me, that was almost like a sign, like she was there, if that's whatever. So from that moment on, I was just kind of calm. And that was late at night. I stayed the night. And then I think they induced me in the morning. They did a little ultrasound to make sure that the baby was okay, and he was fine. It wasn't affecting him yet, but they still needed to get him out. So they induced me, and they did give me some medication to get my blood pressure down. And it just made me really tired, and it made me feel like I was 1,000,000 degrees. I remember being so hot and just, even with ice packs on, I was just so hot and just sweaty, and that was really annoying. But I didn't feel my contractions, and my mom thought it was because of the blood pressure medicine they had given me. And they're like, no, she'll feel them. They just haven't got bad yet. And we were watching them on the monitor, spike. I never felt them, like literally didn't feel them. I didn't feel them until right before I delivered. It was really, really crazy. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I want to say about that. I guess not. So I did have a little bit of pain medication right before I went in because I wasn't sure what to expect about delivering. It took about half hour or so to push them out because I couldn't feel the contractions, so it was difficult. They pull him out, lay him on my stomach, my chest, for like 2 seconds, and they're like, we need to get him over to the table, make sure he's okay. the doctor, they were over there for a while. I couldn't see them because they had padded my bed because I was a seizure risk because of my blood pressure. So I couldn't really see him, but the doctors came back over and they said, we're going to go ahead and incubate him. He's grunting is what they called it, making some kind of like distressing sounds. And that's common with premature babies. Their lungs haven't fully developed yet. So they rushed him over to the hospital, a better hospital, children's hospital. And my husband got to ride over there. And I was just so calm. They brought him over to show me. And he was like in this like, it reminded me of like a coffin, for lack of a better word. It was like see-through, and he's hooked up to things, and that was a little scary, but at the time, again, completely relaxed. I mean, so someone was on my side because I'm not normally that relaxed of a person, unless I'm in situations like that. So normally with preeclampsia, the only cure for it is to deliver the baby, and then your blood pressure returns to normal. Mine didn't, though. My doctors, they were calling it preeclampsia because of the blood pressure, but I never had any of the other markers. And they said that they don't even really think that's what it is, but they don't know what else to call it, basically. There is something called, I think, HELP syndrome, HELP disease, something like that, and it's similar. But again, I didn't have a lot of markers. It was really weird. I didn't have any pain or visual distress or anything that comes along with your blood pressure being so high. So I was in the hospital, I think another day or so. It was about 2 days before I even saw my son. And I was on 2 different blood pressure medications, and that took a while, probably like a month or so before it started to come down. Even on medication, it was like 150 something over, I don't even remember what the bottom number was. But I'm typically, 120 over 80. I'm just kind of standard, and so that was really weird. So my son was on the breathing thing. He wasn't on it very long, like a day or two. And then they took him off, and he was breathing really well on his own, but then they put it back on for some reason. I don't remember. But he ended up spending 18 days in the NICU, the neonatal intensive care unit, at a really good hospital. And he was the biggest preemie there. Most preemies, some of them were like a pound, which I don't even know how that's possible, but he was 6'12" when he was born. 5 weeks early. They said he would have been an 11-pound baby if he had stayed in. So that's just kind of crazy. So it's almost a blessing that I did get to deliver him early, because that would hurt. But yeah, he was in the NICU for 18 days. I didn't leave his side once I went to meet him. Stayed there overnight, and my husband did for a while, and the nurses were like, literally, you need to go home. Like, you're not okay, you're not sleeping. I didn't want to leave him, though. And so many people, their kids are in there 11 months, a year. It just depends how little they are when they're born. Some of them are just that. I was very fortunate. I'll just say that. He was way healthier than the other kids there. But the NICU is a little scary. You got to get beeped in. Everything's on lockdown. It's almost like a little prison in there, and you have to scrub down when you go in, and that was really, really crazy. But he's completely healthy. He never, the doctor told me his lungs are fine. He's not going to have any side effects or anything when he gets older. He's a little over a year now. He just turned 1 not that long ago. And he looks like a 3-year-old. The doctor is estimating he's going to be 6'5". And I'm about 5'6". His dad's about 6'3". So he's a tall kid. And my father was actually premature, and he's 6'2". And my other friend's premature, and he's like 6'2". So I don't know if that's a trend with preemies, but he's a big boy. Definitely can't tell he's a preemie. So to all the moms out there, if you have a newly premature baby, don't worry. You could worrying's the last thing you need to do. It's not going to help anything to worry. So just let the doctors handle it. Did a lot of reading, a lot of research, all that stuff. And if I could give any advice to pregnant women or women that are thinking about getting pregnant, stay away from fast food. I really, really think that's why my pregnancy turned out that way at the end. Because my entire pregnancy, I was eating really healthy until the last probably like 3 weeks. My husband's like, oh man, I want a cheeseburger, and we don't typically eat out too much. And there is just a ridiculous amount of sodium in fast food. Even if you think it's healthy because you're eating at Panera or the bread company, No, it's terrible. They're actually worse than McDonald's sodium wine. Anyways, my camera died, but I was just saying, you know, stay away from fast food. I really, really, really think that had a huge to do with why my blood pressure got high out of nowhere, you know. So if you guys have any questions about anything, about my experience, the NICU, anything at all, leave me a comment, and I'm really good about responding. So thanks for watching.